Hello there. Today I thought I would talk to you about music. I never speak about music. I'm not the biggest music fan, and this has kind of been, I suppose it's been the case for my whole life really. I go through phases and obviously music's fine. Like, you can't not like music. But it's very rare that I feel the need to listen to music. I used to, obviously when I was a teenager, do the typical thing of always having speakers with me or always having headphones in. But actually, I realised in my later life that I'm not particularly that bothered about music. When I started working freelance, I used to listen to a lot of Spotify, and I've now got to the point where I find that I just can't stand listening to music for extended periods. I might have an urge to listen to a song, but if I listen to anything more than that, I get just utterly bored. So I'm more of an audiobook person. If I go for a walk or if I ever have earphones in, that is because I'm listening to an audiobook. But there are some artists that I absolutely love and that I do return to time and again. And a few months ago, Sophie Carlin, who I will link her channel down below. I couldn't find the actual video that I'm talking about. Whether I'm just having a mind blank or whether she's taken it down, I don't know. But a few months ago, Sophie made a video about songs that had really well-written lyrics in them. And she actually covered my favourite artists in that video, so people like Florence and the Machine, Lorde, and also Hosier, who I love. She spoke about all of them and how they use language in their albums. So I'm not going to speak about them, even though they are my favourites, and if you haven't checked them out already, I would definitely recommend doing so. They are all artists who are really good writers at the same time as being musicians, which when you think about it is actually quite a rare thing. A lot of the time lyrics are very simplistic, and there's nothing wrong with that, because I think kind of writing sonnets to your music doesn't necessarily always work, but I think it's really nice and refreshing for me as a writer especially, and somebody who doesn't particularly love music. It's always really refreshing to find artists who do impressive things with words, and as I say, if I do pick people to listen to, these are the kind of people that I listen to. Anyway, long-winded introduction over with. I thought I would talk to you about some of the people that Sophie didn't mention, who I think are quite good writers in their music. I am going to be looking down because I've written down some lyrics here, and I've also got some to read out to you. I'm not going to read out examples for everybody. So I've got Mumford and Sons here. Now, their lyrics themselves, there's not like a poetic piece that I could pick out to say to you. If you read their lyrics, they're quite simplistic in the sense that lyrics generally are. But what I love about Mumford and Sons, and it might be just a biased point of view from me, but they seem to have an affinity with John Steinbeck. So they've written two songs that are sort of based on John Steinbeck books. So there's Tim Shell, which, you know, if you've read East of Eden, Tim Shell is a word which comes up a lot there. It is a biblical word as well, and that's why it's used in East of Eden, but I think the song is mostly inspired by the book East of Eden, and one that is openly inspired by John Steinbeck is Dust Bowl Dance, which is either about East of Eden or Grapes of Wrath. I've heard that it's about Grapes of Wrath, but I think the band themselves say it's about East of Eden. But you know, anyone who writes songs inspired by John Steinbeck is okay with me, and they are really lovely songs. They're kind of more country than I would usually listen to, but I think, oh, they're just good, and I think once you've listened to them for a few times, you grow to love them even more. And yeah, they're really gentle, and their lyrics are nice. But the main, as I say, the main focus for me is the fact that they've written songs based on Steinbeck books. I mean, who could not like that? Next, I've got Daughter. Now, she's a much lesser known artist, and she actually started making songs on MySpace when she was about 14 and when I was about 14. And she's called Elena Tonra, and she used to make songs under her own name. And for the fact that she was 14 years old, these songs were phenomenal. It makes me quite sad that they've never been released in a proper CD format, because I would love to be able to have these. I think a lot of them you can find on YouTube, and if I can find any to link, I will link them down below. But they were amazing songs for her age. Don't get me wrong, she's really quite morbid and depressing, but you know, when you're 14 you want morbid and depressing music, and lyrics do not. She, for example, wrote songs about people killing themselves and people having their hearts broken or being in relationships where they were being taken for twats, with the glorious title of Twat. So she had some really good songs, and a few years ago, probably about 5 years ago if I'm honest, she re-emerged with a band called Daughter. Admittedly, I haven't listened to their latest released album. The songs that she releases with Daughter are not at all the same style that she used to write in when she was 14, which initially was a disappointment to me. But these are another one that I think I bought their first CD. And it's now one of my favourite CDs. I would say that they're quite niche. It's kind of almost industrial music. It's not your typical popular music, hence why she's kind of more underground. But her lyrics are still phenomenal. So there is a song that I particularly love on that album called Shallows. There are some amazing lines in there, like come out to the sea, my love, and just drown with me. There's a line in there saying, I sometimes wish that I'd stayed inside my mother, which, you know, out of context sounds strange, but in the song it really works well. And there are other songs on that album that are phenomenal. I do want to get into listening to their latest album. I think it was released last year or the year before, but it is even heavier in the industrial side, and it kind of initially puts me off, but I know if I listen to the songs I'll enjoy them. As I say, her lyrics are just really good, and I like her as a person. I find her fascinating because she's very inward and she's very shy. I mean, there is, again, I'll link it down below, there's a video of her doing a live performance in Tiny Desk video. I don't know if you've ever watched a Tiny Desk video. It's where artists do a little kind of concert for this office of people, and it's recorded. It's a thing, and they're quite good actually. I enjoy them. But there's one with Daughter, and she is so painfully shy. Like it's almost painful to watch, but I find people like that really intriguing because I think I feel an affinity with them, and I don't know, I find her fascinating, especially having heard her lyrics. Anyway, that's enough of that. Next, we've got another woman who started out on MySpace, or on YouTube, I think she was more, and she started out as Josie Vanders. She has now rebranded herself and come out as Layla, and I think she's quite successful now. I think she's doing quite well, and I think she's generally quite well known, especially in people who sort of liked YouTube music and stuff like that. I really liked her when she was Josie Vanders, not as much as probably Elena Tonra, but she was still good, and she brought out a song, I can't remember what it was called, and it's no longer on YouTube, which is annoying, but it had the line in it, I caught you looking at another woman's heart, which I really liked, and I think I wrote that on quite a few of my notepads when I was younger. And now she has, as I say, rebranded, and one of the favourite songs of hers that I have now that she's Layla is called Holes. And for an example of how well written her songs are, one of the lines is, the two of us, one line, one plus, the worst of us comes out in lust. This thing called love, it's not so easy. We live inside this hazy life, where we must find someone to lie with at night. So, you know, that's the opening verse of the song, and I just think it's really pretty, and I like her music, so yeah, check her out if you haven't already. Then, while we're on the theme of people who started on the internet, let's talk about Gabrielle Aplin. Now, again, Gabrielle Aplin kind of became quite big. If you don't know who she is, her sort of big break came when she did the Power of Love cover for the John Lewis advert about 5 years ago now for Christmas, and she's kind of been steadily releasing music since then. I'll be honest, I don't follow her career, because her music, when it's released in album form, is pretty country and western related, which is not my style at all. But when she started out, she did completely acoustic songs on YouTube. Admittedly, it was mainly covers, but every now and again she'd do her own song, and they were really pretty. She's a very good one for writing really lovely one-liners, and her first album is quite nice, and I did download that, but anything past that is a bit countrified for me, although I have been listening to a few more of her songs recently. There's one I particularly like, which is called The House We Never Built, which is about sort of leaving a man behind. There's a line in here, which is the chorus line, which is, it's like I never left the house we never built, which I think is quite nice, and she's good at that kind of one-liner, really punchy, effective language. As I say, the backing behind her songs is not necessarily my cup of tea, but if you purely are after good lyrics, Gabrielle Aplin is your lady. Then finally, I'm going to talk to you about the Luminaries. These are a bit more up in the realm of Mumford and Sons again. I'm sure you've already heard of these guys. They were kind of big at the same time as Passenger got big, that kind of acoustic, guitar-y music. I like that, and I like listening to the Luminaries. I think they're really easy to listen to. They did the song Ho Hey or Hey Ho, I think it's Ho Hey. It was on an advert at the time. Anyway, I really like these guys and I think their lyrics are really good. They actually have one of my favourite lyrics of all time, which is in their song Slow It Down, I think is the title, and it starts off saying, I feel her filth in my bones, which is just, frankly, what more do you need from a band than a line like that? I mean, come on, that is poetry, that is pure poetry. But yeah, all of their songs are really lovely and gentle and just soothing, and I find them really easy to listen to in the background, so if you're after just some nice acoustic music with good lyrics, I would recommend. So that's everybody I have to talk about. Please let me know down below if there are any other bands which you can think of who really have beautiful lyrics. And I will see you next time. Bye!